Um, I want to start this year going back to the Ana B'Choach again. Maybe we'll have another little more upbeat nigun as we get into things. But Ana B'Choach, is encoded in such a way that it helps us connect to the energy of each new light. So we're up to in the Ana B'Choach, Betar Tzatag, or it's Barchem Tarem Rachmet Tzidkatcha Tamid Gamlen, which if you're counting down from Chesed to Malchut is the energy of Netzach. And that means it's a very special energy because that's where the energy of Chanukah begins to kick in terms of the quality of light and the magnitude of light, the amount of light that we're trying to access and share as we go through the 8 days. So I'm gonna, I think, just sing that nigun just for this one verse. Barchem Tarem, bless them, purify them. Rachmet Tzidkatcha, the love of your generosity. I said Tzidkatcha, your tzedek, your generosity. It said Tzidkatcha is like your tzedakah. In the sense, really every day is we're receiving tzedakah from above, and something. If we look in, so we might a little later, if we look in the Kuti Maran 54, one of the things that he tells us there is that every day is a gift. Every single day is a new gift. You know, it became the custom to give these presents on Chanukah, but that's to remind us that actually every day is a gift. And what comes what are the gifts of every day is the energy that you receive for that particular day. And that energy takes the form of physical energy. You could say really, when you think of the energy, there's heart energy, there is breath energy, and there's mind energy. Every day we're given a certain package of energy, a certain quantum of energy, and but it's of 3 types. So there's a certain, you're going to get to feel certain things. That's the heart energy you receive for that day. It's already like you know, we're experiencing all this within the package, the space-time capsule. But that space-time capsule, as we've been trying to understand, is not what we think it is. It's really a hologram of something which is much more real. So it's a reflection. But everything we're experiencing is what we're given within that hologrammatic experience. And we're getting these 3 types of energy. So we've got the energy on one level, there's the energy of all that you get to feel, all the feelings you're going to get to have this particular day. And every day is new. You get a gift each day. So you get a gift with 3 ribbons. So one ribbon wraps up all your feelings, everything that you're going to get to feel. All these things existed before this hologram took the particular form that we think is reality on that particular day. It's coming from beyond the space-time, and it comes to us as a gift within space-time. So we have to we have the energy of the heart, we have the energy of the breath, we have the energy of the mind. And the energy of the mind is, of course, everything that you're going to think in the course of this particular day, all the thoughts that come to you. And it's very crucial, as I think Reb Nachman is teaching in 54, that we understand that everything is coming to us as a gift. And we should know that we're receiving something. If we don't know that, then we think we identify with the hologram, with our image within the hologramic picture, and we lose or don't recognize the reality of the dependency of the hologram on the source that's beyond the hologram. So when we start to understand that everything that we experience during any particular day is the divine tzedakah, that we're getting tzedakah from beyond space-time, and wrapped in these three ribbons. So one is the thoughts, everything you're going to think during the course of the day, everything you're going to feel, all the feelings that will come to you in the course of the day. And the energy that you have, which is basically the energy that is being pumped, that connects the mind and the heart through the breathing, right? The breath, all these things. So, Rachme, the love of your tzedakah, constantly bestow upon them, upon those who are fortunate to have this knowledge, this knowledge that can save us from being lost in the hologram. Okay, so that's so. Barchem Tarim Rachme Tzidkatcha Tamid Gamleim. We'll try to give it over a little bit in the Baal Shem Tov's Nigun. Barchem, 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 Tarem, 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 Rachamei, 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 Tzidkatcha, 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 Tamid, 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 Gomlem, 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 Borchem, 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 Taharem, 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 Rachamei, 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 Tzidkatcha, 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 Tamid, 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 Gamolem, Gamolem, Gomlem, Gomlem, Borchem, 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 Tarem, 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 Rachamei, 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 Tzidkatcha, 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 Tamid, 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 Gomalem, 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 Gomalem. So let's move into this blessing, the energy of the blessing. Borchem Tarem Rachmit Tzidkat Tamid Gamlein. We go back first to the Kuti Maharan at 112, which we are very slowly and carefully and deeply moving through. Let's go back to section 112.2, just this first part there where he says, Vehine yodu sheyesh shlosha olamot. It's known, so the sources tell us that there are three worlds. Olam HaMalachim v'Galgalim v'Gashmi. There's the world of the angels, the world of the, he translates here spheres. Galgalim really means the celestial worlds, the worlds of the stars and the planets. So there's the world of the angels, there's the world of the stars and the planets, and V'Hagashmi, and there's this world that we experience as a material world, And all the three are hooked up together. It says, every one of these worlds, the angelic world, the world of the angels, the world of the stars and the planets, and Gashmi is really, we might as well just say the earth, and get as clear as we can. We're talking about this Gaia, this world, the world of that we find ourselves, that we are the products of, which is why we're called Bnei Adam, because we come from the Adamah, we come from the earth. So we earth beings are on this, what he calls, that world is what we think of as the material world, because actually all three of these worlds, the angels and the stars, are all appearances, they're phenomena within the world of our experience. This is not, he's not talking here modern astrophysics. I'm not talking about modern astrophysics. We're talking about really the chain of command in terms of the way we're hooked up to the source and the source is hooked up to us. Then say between us on the earth, where we manifest within the hologram as an embodied being, that is nevertheless connected to a source which is beyond space and time. There are dimensions that connect beyond space and time and our locus here on the earth. And so between that source and our locus here, let's say where our body, mind, and heart and soul takes form, there are higher dimensions. Those higher dimensions are called the stars and the angels, the angelic realm and the celestial realm. So again, I think I mentioned one time before, this is not astrophysics. There's no, the astronomers will say, astrology, there's no evidence for astrology. Well, that's because they're looking in the wrong place, right? Astrology and astronomy are two different things, but astrology is a spiritual science. It's not a physical science. We're not talking about the forces, the physical forces related to the stars and their energy, but the inner flows that are connecting us, connecting our package which we're receiving each day anew with all these presents these gifts that we're receiving. So why are we receiving them? We're receiving them because something is needed from us, that God needs something from us and gives us something to work with. So you could say these gifts are like you could say our tools. It's what we have to work with in order to fulfill our function here, to manifest the divine ratzon, the divine will. And we receive those gifts through these paths, through this inner spiritual flow that goes through the stages. One level is called the angelic realm. The one that is closer to us is called the celestial realm. So in other words, these stars are inside your own mind. These are not, you can see the stars outside and think of them. You can envision them as outside or inside, but they don't become powerful in terms of avoda, in terms of actually doing anything for the divine will, until you recognize them as they're shining, and the transmission that you are always receiving from those stars within your subconscious mind. That's where they are. So you can see them inside. You can see them with your eyes closed. It doesn't have to be night to see these stars. All you have to do is look inside deeply enough. If you look inside even more deeply, you can get beyond the stars, and there's a level beyond the stars which is called the world of the angels. So these are metaphysical inner worlds, and those angels are pretty close to the angels. That's why angels means messengers, because they're delivering the messages that are coming from the divine source. They hand them off to the stars, and the stars, like Morse code, they flash out this message into our minds. And if we have our minds and our hearts hooked up through the energy of the rhythm of our breathing, then we're able to decode these messages. So he says, so Hashem Yitbarach Mechayem Akiem Kulam Birtzono, all of these, this whole system, this whole hookup, this transmission system is being maintained constantly through the Ratzon, through the divine will. Umisha Zochel Emet. So a person who knows the truth, who has the merit to be able to recognize and know the truth, that means to not be deceived by the hologram, by what appears to be reality to people who do not know the truth, right? If you have been gifted, if you're blessed with the merit to be able to access emes, then Yudhe Vafe Orlo, then the divine light is shining to you. Humakayem olam v'noten shefel echol shlosh olamot. The person who's on the level has got this feedback loop hooked up, which is another way of describing these inner worlds that connect the source from above to below, but also from below to above. Then if you're in that, and that's called emes, right? So that's the emes. The emes is that's what we're part of this feedback loop. The message is always coming down, and but not everybody's able to receive it. So you have to have, it's called a zechus, a great merit if you're one of the people that has the ability to receive it. This is not something that just anybody can do. It's a blessing. It's a particular blessing to be able to be connected to emes. And when a person is connected to emes, then Hashem Orla, then they're illuminated. That's enlightenment. They're enlightened by Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh. The light of Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh is shining into that person, and Hu Mekayem Olam. And in that condition, in that state of being, such a person is maintaining the entire world. That's unbelievable, right? It's like the whole world, it's like, the Greeks had, actually, there's many old myths in which there's a certain being that is holding up the whole world, right? It's like there's the image of this God, and the world is resting on the shoulders of this God. Well, we are those gods if we have the merit to know the truth. If we have this knowledge of the reality, that above, that we are the microcosm below, we are the form, the Tselem Elohim, we're the form of the divine being itself. And to the extent that we can embody that, we're Mekayim Olam. V'noten shefa l'kol shlosha olamot. And so if you're in that condition, you are bringing shefa into all the three worlds. That's exactly how it's coming through all those worlds, through the tzinor that connects your heart and mind and soul with the source of everything, the source of all life. Okay, that's the 112. Now I want to do something very special. Go to Sichot Aran. Conversations, the sayings of Rebbe Nachman, number 40, which is very special, and which he said on one year on Chanukah. And I'm going to go through it. Some of it we'll skip over a little bit, try to get to the heart and soul of it. But here's what he says, number 40. He says, Be'inyan sifrei mechakreim kvar mavor etzlenu, kama pamim she'asur lasuk b'hem. Says, we should not really get hung up. I'm going to translate Reb Nachman into Terence McKenna, because I think Terence McKenna is a little more, his discourse is a little more up to date. Now, what I heard Terence McKenna, who I think was like one of the Nevi'im, who was one of the prophets who manifested during my lifetime. It's a shame that he couldn't have lived a little longer, but the guy was such an incredible genius. It's just totally amazing how much he brought through and accomplished, and that we now have access to, and we can know because of him. So I was listening one time to this a teaching, a sikha from Terence McKenna, and Terence McKenna said, the problem that we're facing in this age, which is a transitional age, which is like a time, it is, every age is a transitional age because nothing is ever still. So everything is always becoming, right? So everything is always becoming. That's why we speak of the world that is coming, Olam Haba, the world that is coming, because it's always coming. There's no world that is actually here forever, right? What we think of the world is always coming. It comes every day, it's a new world. So that's why people can say, oh, there's no big deal because it's always a new world. Every day is a new world. It's true that every day is a new world, but the new world that is coming right now is a cataclysmic world. It's a world that is on the edge of catastrophe. And that's to say it is a major moment in the entire evolutionary process. And it means that things are happening that are of extremely great magnitude. They're happening very fast and they're very, very powerful things. And one of the indications, one of the condition that we're in is that basically the three gifts have been separated. So the gift of the heart and the gift of the breath and the gift of the mind have been separated. They're not integrated. And as a result, there's come to be a kind of ascendancy of the analysis of experience that is based solely on analysis and the rational mind. And what McKenna is saying, the problem with that is that the more you follow that way of thinking, that way of trying to understand what life is, the more meaningless human beings become, the more meaningless everything becomes. I remember it was just a few years ago, I don't remember now his name, but one of the leading physicists in the academic world said, the more I study the cosmology, the more meaningless it becomes. There's just no meaning there. And why is there no meaning there? Because when the mind is separated from the heart and the soul, all it can do is look at things. And there's no meaning, and that meaning doesn't come from breaking things into pieces, breaking them down, and meaning disappears. For meaning to be there, you need to something much more human has to be present, because meaning is a function of being a Ben Adam. To be a human being requires having some meaning. It's something for life to mean something to you. But for life to mean something to you, it can't just be a pile of rocks. And if there's just a bunch of rocks here and everything is just a kind of accident, then there's no meaning for me to be here. Because the only meaning would be for me to find out that it's all just a bunch of rocks. And what kind of meaning would that be? So Reb Nachman is saying that an emphasis that he puts a number of times, you shouldn't spend a lot of time with works, with the kind of literature that does not, that involves you too much in the thinking process of your mind, in the analytics of what exists. The verse says, where is that verse? The verse says, it's Yirmiyahu 10:16. Lo ke'ele chelek Yaakov. The portion of Yaakov is not just analyzing things but something more. Now, I have to say, I think it's, we have to like update Reb Nachman's Sikha here, which a lot of people don't do. So they make it like you should not pay any attention to science. I would never say that. I think we need to pay a lot of attention to science because we need to be able to make corrections and understand the outside and the inside as best that we can. So I wouldn't say that we should pay no attention to scientific works, but we should recognize that, as the verse says, Lo ke'ele chelik Yaakov, that the reason we're here, we bring something extra to the table. If we're Yaakov, Yaakov means Yisrael. Yaakov means those who have been graced with the ability to see their way out of the hologram and to be able to have a connection, a conscious connection with that which is beyond space and time, have something else to do, not just to analyze the way the hologram is constructed. So, which doesn't mean it's a bad thing to understand the way the hologram is constructed, because there's an evolution that is going on in terms of that understanding, and ultimately it's all going to come together, but we have something else to do. Okay, so I'm going to skip down the next paragraph. Well, he says something interesting here. He says, these kind of scientific works, which are not connected to the heart and soul, but are just analytical, ask a lot of questions, and asking all these questions leads to more questions, and all of these things basically, he says, all these questions don't amount to anything. They're all just not a good use of energy. But we see that there are certain people, so certain people do not have minds that are interested in holy Svarim, like he says the Zohar and the Arizal, and works like that. That's to say, the earlier iterations of the Torah, which were revealing inner secrets and creating maps of those secrets. And even though there are such amazing things in those Svarim, and if you're able actually to get into those Svarim, you find that they're so incredibly sweet. There's such a sweetness in being able to receive knowledge of the secrets of creation. But these people are not interested in such things. And so they're drawn to external analyses, which don't connect their minds to their hearts and souls. But here's what Reb Nachman says, this is because of the way they're constituted. It's like it's not that they are deciding that that's the only thing that's important or that matters. It's like their souls are constructed, it's their nature from the way energies have been combined from birth. So in other words, they're born with this inability really to appreciate the inner teachings of the Zohar and so forth. They can't really feel the holy. They can't feel the holiness. So everything does seem to be just the way it looks. The inside is not there for them. Some people just can't. They don't have it. So, but it is still the truth that everybody does have. They have a certain amount of free will. So if they wanted to, even if they don't have a predisposition for exploring the sacred, they could if they wanted to. They could break through this construction, this mixture. In other words, who they're getting to be. They would be able to, they do have the capacity to overcome it. But since it's basically like what he's saying is they weren't dealt such a fortunate deck. This is why I'm always saying that we should recognize how incredibly fortunate we are. Don't take it for granted at all. It's like if you can have any interest in the things that we're interested in at all, it's a tremendous gift. It's not by nature that everybody is aware. Some people are born on such a high level that they don't have to, the light is very close to them from an early age. I mean, there's people, the Zohar talks about these Chanukahs. There's like, there are children, what do they call them now? What's that indigo children, I think they call them now. There's some of them, they're born that they already, like, they see the light. Nobody has to teach them even. I mean, and they're coming in and sharing the light. They already have knowledge of it. And that's the mezig that they have. That's what he means by the mezig. But other people, they are born in darkness. And they don't have a sensitivity. They don't have a sensibility to the light. And although there's still, you can't write anybody off, it's still possible they could do it. But since that's the way they were born, basically. A person like that would have to go through a tremendous amount of suffering in order to be able to see the light. Now, you can extrapolate from this that basically everybody has to go through a certain amount of suffering to see the light, because there's very few of us that are born like these indigo children. That's very, 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 very few. It's possible, but we're all born or somewhere on the scale from 0 to 100, right? Okay, how much light can you see? If you had a very fortunate birth, then maybe, you're 7 or 8 and already you're starting to see some light. Maybe you don't see any light till you're 12 or 13, maybe till you're 20, maybe till you're 25, whatever it is. We all have to go through some process that involves merirut, so the bitterness, experiencing the bitterness. But that bitterness is, if we can consciously experience it, it can be the path to greater sensibility, greater sensitivity, greater awareness of more and more light. Nachman says, "Ve'ashrei la'adam shenolad b'kedusha." Very fortunate is the person who is born in a state of holiness, and that is, like, if you see a person like that, it's. I mean, you think of it like somebody like Ramana Maharshi, who that totally woke up when he was 16, and saw the light, got a complete kind of awakening, and never lost sight of the light after that. That's a saintly being. But we can all be, we're all on the tzaddik path, so we can all become more and more we can evolve. That's what's going on, basically, is that something is happening, things are changing all the time, and no one is stuck on any one level. But some levels are higher than others. I want to go through this a little bit fast. So these works have all kinds of questions about the nature of creation. Why did a star become a star, and so forth? Why is a head a head? Why is a foot a foot? And why isn't the opposite, and so forth? In other words, you can ask a lot of questions, try to get an answer. Why is the world the way that it is? But if you're only looking the outside, you will never get the right answer. There is no answer there in terms of just seeing the way things look, because, as we've said before, all you're seeing, you're not ever seeing the causes. The causes are all beyond time and space. Anything we take for a cause is only an effect. Why is it an effect? Well, effect of what? Effect of what passed down from the source to the world of the angels, from the world of the angels to the world of the stars. And then it gets to this Olam HaShafel, the Olam HaGashmi. But the time it gets to the Olam HaGashmi, which is where our senses become aware of it, it's an effect. Your mind may think, oh, this caused this and that caused that, but that's because your mind is not open, is not aligned and tuned up to the flow that comes from beyond space and time, that the handoff from the angels to the stars, to your heart and soul. So you can't get any answers there. You ask, and you get into a lot of problems when you get lost in these questions, because you have to, the answers have to come by way of the heart. If the heart and the mind and the breath are not integrated, that's the condition you have to be in and able to process, receive, and participate in the communication that is called emes. If you don't have that hookup, then you're not going to get good answers. You can have all the questions you want, but you'll never come up with an answer that that is satisfying. And he says, all of this is just vanity. There's no point to asking these questions. Why did God do this? Why did God do that? Why did God do the other thing? There's no answers to those questions. Because the whole system works a certain way, and it's all working the way it's supposed to work, or every moment. Uvvemet da. Now we get to some of the good part. He says, Uvvemet, you should know. He says, no. Ki kol olam kulo hu bichinat galgala chozer shekorin dreidel. You have to know that the entire world, kulo, that means all the world that includes all the worlds, is a revolving, is like a revolving top, is a revolving sphere that we call, which is called a dreidel. The whole world is a revolving top, which is called in Yiddish a dreidel. It dreis, it turns. It's something that is constantly turning. Every single thing is turning and revolving and transforming from one thing to another. Me'adam malach or mimalach adam. A person can become an angel, and an angel can become a person. Umerosh regel, umeregel rosh. A foot can become a head, and a head can become a foot. V'chen shar kol hadvarim sheba'olam, and similarly for everything that exists, kulam chozrim chalila, they're all going through an endless process, a continuous, unending process. Umit galgalim, and they are revolving and recycling. They're recycling around and transforming from one thing, mizelazeh, from one thing into another. Me elyon letachton, from above to below, and from below to above. There is nothing that stays in one place. There is nothing that has one character. There are only moments in which things appear to be a certain way, and then another moment, what was above could be below, and what was below could be above. And the opposite. Mitapchim mizelazeh mi'elyon letachton, mitachton le'elyon, ki b'met ba'shoresh hakol echad. But even though everything is becoming something else all the time, it's constantly becoming its opposite, and the opposite is becoming its opposite, and nothing is remaining the same or one thing, the truth is that in the root of everything, it's all one. It's all a totality. There is one reality, but that reality manifests like a dreidel that is spinning forever, and in any moment it might fall it may fall on a hey, it may fall on a nun, it may fall on a gimel, it may fall on a shin. Now, what are these? When you look at the dreidel, there's 4 letters. Right. So this spinning, the world is a dreidel, is spinning, and the 4 letters we have to understand. Kiyesh, and what are the 4 letters? There's kiyesh nivdalim. Nivdalim is nun. There are elements of this dreidel, of this totality, that are called the transcendental. They're called the makifin. There are the elements that are beyond anything that we can know, but they're still part of the totality. One time I had a conversation with Reb Zalman because there was a machloket at the time between Reb Zalman and Reb Avram Yitzchak Green. And Reb Avram Yitzchak Green was holding that the concept of the totality is something that academics call panentheism, and Reb Zalman was holding, no, it's really pantheism. The totality is pantheism. But what's the difference between panentheism and pantheism? Pantheism means everything is God. Everything is God without exception. There's nothing that isn't God. Everything is God. And panentheism holds that God is in everything, or that everything is in God, which gives you the sense there's something beyond the everything. If everything is in God, then God is something other than the everything. So I asked Reb Zalman, I said, well, what about Ein Sof? And Reb Zalman said, it's just part of it. It's part of it. It's just part of it. There isn't the totality is one. There's nothing separate at all. But there is in that totality something that is beyond anything that we can know. But that doesn't make it something other than the totality. So yesh nivdalim, there are elements of the totality that are nivdal, they're separate from phenomenality, from anything that we can sense or know. Dahainu and malachim. And that's when we talk about the world of the angels, this is the world of the angels. The world of the angels, Shehem Nivdalim Negamre Minachomer, they are absolutely separate from any kind of Gashmut, even the most subtle. So these messengers, that level of the messengers that are distributing the message, are so subtle that we can't perceive them at all. And that's the world of that's called the Nivdalim. So that's the nun on the Dreidel. The Yesh Galgalim. And then we have the world of Galgalim. That's the Gimel that's on the Dreidel, right? So now we have the nun, we have the Gimel as the Galgalim. There are Galgalim Shehem Bechinat Chomer Aval Chomram Zachmaod. They have a certain Gashmut, they have a certain kind of material substance, but their substance is incredibly subtle. So it's not like not like the kind of substance, the kind of matter that we experience on the earth, but it's a more subtle. That's the inner stars. These the Galgalim, the planets and stars that are points of light that are present at very great depths of the subtle mind are called the Galgalim. V'yesh olam hashafal, and then there is the world below. There you see the shin, shafal, the low world. That's the world, the earth sphere. So now we have nun, we have gimel, we have shin. Remember that the dreidel represents the totality of the whole world, which is spinning. And what is spinning? The nun is spinning, the gimel is spinning, the shin is spinning. Ve'afal pisha b'vadai kol echad ve'echad mi'elu shlosha hu nilkach mi'mekom yuchad. Even though all of these three, the level of the angels, the level of the Galgalim, the inner stars and planets, and the level of manifest matter, it's to say the experience of those on the earth, Afal Pichen, even though they all have a specific source, Afal Pichen B'shor Shakol Sham Kulachad. Nevertheless, the source of all of them is one. They all derive from the same source, from the same root. V'yalken Kula Olam Kulahu B'chinat Galgal Chozer. And therefore, the entire world is like this dreidel that is composed of these three forms, these three elements that are spinning around. And everything is constantly changing, because sometimes one letter is on top, and sometimes the other letter is on top. But because the dreidel never stops spinning, everything is always changing from one thing to another, and from one thing to its opposite. At one moment, this is on the top, b'chinat rosh, and then it is the head or the top. V'davar acher b'chinat shvala, and there's another thing that is on the low side, b'chinat regel, and we call the foot. V'char kach nitapech v'chozer v'nasem b'chinat regel b'chinat rosh, and then it just goes on, that the foot becomes the head, the bottom, what's on the bottom becomes on top, and what's on top becomes on the bottom. And similarly, a human being can become an angel, and an angel can become a human being. Now, one thing you might think of right away here is, for those of us been interested in the iconography of Tibetan Buddhism, when you look at their model of the wheel of the world, right? You have these 6 different levels, and which the highest level is the God realm. And there's the hungry ghost realm, there's the human realm, and so on. But one thing you learn right away, the first thing they teach you about the wheel of life, the Tibetan wheel of life, is that a being might get to be, because of their karma, that's if they evolve enough, if they expand enough and they become illuminated enough, they may reach a level of being that's called the God realm. But even if they get to the God realm, they don't stay there permanently. You only stay there in the God realm to the extent that you have the merit to stay in the God realm. And from the God realm, you can fall down back to a lower realm. So a human being can get to be a God, and a God can get to be a human being. Here he says, in our iconography, says, a human being can be transformed into an angel, and an angel can be transformed into a human being. Kamosha Matzino Shamru, the rabbi said, Shehishlichu malachim min hashamayim el olam hashafal. Where do they say? They say the Midrash says, and you can see this is described and explained in the Zohar, that we have the notion of fallen angels, and that in the Zohar says that when the deliberation, the creative process was undertaken between the angels and the creative source itself. Nasa Adam, it says, Nasa, let us make the human being in our image, and so forth, which is Nasa as a plural. So this was a kind of an argument or a discussion how exactly the world was going to be created. Some of the angels that contested the creation of the world were hurled out of the Olam HaMalachim. They were thrown from the world of the angels down into the world of human beings. And so the Zohar and other sources said, this is what are called in the rabbinic tradition, these are called the B'nai Elohim. So you see in Brachot, I was just actually listening to a person in Australia who was talking about the origins of the myth of the B'nai Elohim that come from the Sumerians, and the story there, it seems to be that they're understood as the offspring between extraterrestrials and human beings. Now, I was talking to Gurji, to get George Mordechai about this the other day, and I said to him, my experience, I don't have any experience of extraterrestrials. I hear about extraterrestrials, but the only experience I have is with extra-dimensional beings. So I can only understand this as there are extraterrestrial extra-dimensional beings. Those are the beings that Terence McKenna talked a lot about, which he became aware of because he, through the experiences that he was able to get when he was introduced to DMT and other chemicals of that kind, those chemicals changed the way his brain was, the brain chemistry, and so he had his experience was moved into other dimensions, and then he became aware of beings that we're usually not aware of, even though actually the whole earth is full of stories about these beings. For example, in Ireland, you could hear people talking about leprechauns, any night of the week if you go in the right pub. What are they talking about? Extraterrestrials, extra dimension, or extra? So I don't know if there's what the extraterrestrials I don't know about. So far, I hear about it, but I myself have no knowledge of extraterrestrials. But extra dimensionals, that they're coming from other dimensions, yes. I think we are all actually somewhat aware of these, of the influences that are coming from dimensions that we don't have access to. So these, so the Midrash says that the some of these beings that exist within an extra dimensional, in a dimension of the totality that we don't have, that our senses don't experience, can be thrown down from that dimension into the earth realm. And then they appear like human beings, but they're a little bit different in some way or another. So they may be called different things and so on. But that's just an example. And then in the other direction, the Torah says that there are beings like Chanukah, like Enoch and Eliyahu and Navi. That's what are we talking about? That started out as human beings and they became extra dimensional beings. They become malachim. Chanukah becomes the malach that is called Metatron. So that's just illustrations that in this totality, as the dreidel spins, you could be a human being one day and an angel some other time. Just because you're a human being doesn't mean you'll be a human being, a Ben Adam forever, and vice versa. So some are coming down, some are going up. Says v'kein kama pamim sheba'u malachim b'olam. There's a number of times angels came down into this world, v'nidlabshu b'chomer, which they became embodied in matter, as it's explained in various sources. Shematzino shenasa me'adam. Okay, ki ha'olam hu b'chinat galgal chozer. So the point is that the dreidel represents the transformational nature, the ceaseless transformational nature of the totality as it is. Hakol chozer chalila. It's going on. And chalila means it's like a circle dance. And he gives the illustration as if you ever did like square dances or circle dances, is like in the course of the dance, you will dance with everyone will be your partner and you will be everyone's partner. You keep moving around the circle and everyone gets to be in everyone else's place. Now that's, I guess, why the Tibetans tell us that basically they like to say, to teach us to love, to be loving, they like to say, the way this dreidel spins, this dreidel been spinning for so long that basically everyone that you meet was your mother in some lifetime or other. Everyone that you meet, however they look now, and whatever the role is that they're given to play in a particular moment, there was at some time where they were like they gave you life and they were the kindest person to you and they looked out for you. So they might be appearing now like a monster, but that's not who they really are. That's just the present appearance. They're all coming from they're all coming from the same place, all coming from the same place. Now, there's one other thing we have to really get in here, which is maybe the most important, but it says, continuing down, it says, this is why we play dreidel. We play with dreidels on Chanukah. Chanukah hu b'chinat Chanukah de Beit HaMikdash. Chanukah is the dedication of the temple. V'ikar binyan beit hamikdash bechina. What is the nature of the temple? The nature of the temple is like this is like a dreidel, because it was said concerning the temple. Let me see where the source is. Pirkei de Rabbi Eliezer, and then also the Zohar. No, that's the source is Masechet Baba Batra. Okay, it says in Baba Batra 10b, it says that Beveda Mikdash Haya Bechinat Elyonim Lamata V'Tachtonim Lamala. The high things are in the temple. The highest things are below, and the lowest things are above. As it's written in concerning the tabernacle, Asuli Mikdash V'Shechanti B'Tocham. Build me a temple, and I will dwell in your midst. As the temple is the place where the highest comes down and is present into the lowest dimension. And of course, the Shekhinah is present in the temple, and the Shekhinah is the God itself. So a temple a temple means a special place, and we've talked about, of course, if you really know sacred geography, sacred geometry, and construction and so forth, really know how to build a sacred place, you can build a temple that you can build an actual structure. Gurdjieff talked about this, that he would travel, when he traveled in the East, that he came to places where they still knew how to build these temples, so that if you just walk into the temple and immediately you start crying, just by virtue of setting foot in there. Why? Because they constructed it in such a way, the vibes in that temple immediately connect you to the highest of the high. And when you feel that interconnection to the highest of the high, your heart will burst open. You don't even have to think about it. So there are places like that. But since we don't have the physical temple, we have had to learn how to be a temple. So we have to construct for ourselves. We have to learn the geometry of the heart, the geometry that uses the materials of the mind and the breath and the heart in such a way that we can produce through our breathing the vibrations of a holy temple, the vibrations of a place that establish us in a place where the divine, where the highest of the high comes down to be with us in the lowest of the low. So to speak, Hashem set his Shekhinah below the Mishkan of Beit HaMikdash. And that's what means the highest Elyonim Lamata, the supernal things are below. And the opposite is true as well. Kol Tzior de Mashkana, the whole construction of the Mishkan, of the tabernacle, was inscribed above. And that's the sacred geometry. In other words, the geometry of the construction, the proportions, the way the everything is put together to create a space that's vibrating with a certain energy. The model for that is actually existing beyond space and time. So that is why I think it was Sharon was slowed us down to explain the union of microcosm and macrocosm. This is precisely the meaning. The temple is a microcosm. It is a model of something that is beyond space-time. So the model is above, but it's present below in the form of the temple. And we ourselves become the temple if we can learn how to be in a state that integrates our breathing so that our hearts and minds are united. That is the category that is called the lower things are above because they correspond to the model. And that's what the Dreidel is teaching us. That what's above is below and what's below is above, because the whole thing is revolving, is constantly revolving. She'akol chozer v'nidapech. So I'm going to skip it's all, actually this whole sikha is very interesting, but we don't have time to do the whole thing. So I'm going down next paragraph, because so far we only had Nun, Shin, and Gimel, right? We had Nivdalim, the world of the angels, the world of the Galgalim, the inner stars, and the Olam HaShafel, the lower world, the material world of the earth. And now he says, V'hine koach hiyuli hamuva b'sifreim hu b'china lemamutza ben hakoach v'hapoel. Now this is, the whole totality would not get to be, the Dreidel would not exist if it were not for the power, what is called koach hiyuli. Hiyuli is this hule, and it's in Athenian Greek, in Attic Greek, there is a word that is called hule, and that means primordial matter. This primordial matter, and the rabbis who, as we know, got so much from the Greeks, use the terminology. Here's just a point, an obvious point where they're used as they take this term right out of Greco-Roman philosophy. And Nachman says it's the intermediary between potentiality and actuality. Remember last time we said that there is what is called the sechel, the koach, or the sechel, that the intellect that is only potential. That's everything. That's the Torah beyond space and time, where everything is written, which the same thing what the Muslims call the tablet. So everything is, what do the Hindus call it? The Akashic record. Everything is already there. All the information is there before it appears within a hologram. But in the hologram, it's called the sechel nichna. It's the mind, the dot that has been that has come into existence. So in between, you have to have. So this is you have to have something we call the receptacle, is what Plato calls it. In the Timaeus, he calls it the receptacle. There has to be something in between non-being and being. It's like you have two sides of a coin. One side is ayin and the other side is yesh. But how does something get to be a yesh when it was a nothing? And so Plato basically says there's like a medium between the two sides of the coin, in which, and this we talked about before, the chota, the seal, was the seal of truth, and that the potentiality gets sealed in this medium, and that produces the imprint of the letters of creation, and then those letters of creation take what is called the sechel poel, that the act of intellect makes them into a message which is delivered by the angels to the stars, and from the stars into the human mind that has been prepared for the prophetic message. Now that receptacle, what is that medium? The medium which classically is often called the avir, that's something that is able to take the imprint so that the imprint can be interpreted by minds by forms of intelligence, that is called the Yuli. That's called this primordial matter. Ki kol davar hu batchila, everything is first is only in a potential state. V'achar kach yotze mekoach el hapol, and subsequently it goes from potential to actual. Okisha yotze min hakoach kodem shebar lepo, when it comes from the actual before it reaches, when it comes from the potential before it reaches the actual, yesh bechinat yuli shehu memutza, there is this thing called the hiyuli, which comes in between the potential and the actual. Shehu shorash kol hanivraim. This is the root of everything that exists. Now, in my understanding, I believe that in the mapping of the Yitzchak Lori, the Arizal, this is what Yisrael Sarut called the Malbush, called the garment that is woven out of all the letters. That garment is the primordial matter, and that is the root of everything that is created. Everything comes out of the power of this primordial fabric. Everything was initially in the state of potential of the Yuli. Everything that appears as a phenomenon comes out of that primordial stuff because it's the root. What are the things that come out? The Niv Dalim, the Galgalim, the Shvalim, the Nun, the Gimel, the Shin. So the Hey is Hiyuli. And in order to have the whole dreidel, you have to have Hey, Yuli, you have to have Nun, Niv Dalim, the angels, Gimel, the Galgalim, as the stars, the inner stars, and Shin, the corporeal world, the world of the earth, the material world of the earth. And if you have all of them, you have a model that reminds us of the nature of the totality itself. In Chanukah, we spin the dreidel. We spin the dreidel. And he gives it to you in the next paragraph. Zebechinat, the letters that are engraved in the dreidel are Hey, Nun, Gimel, Shin. Roshi Tevot, Hiyuli, Nivdal, Galgal, Shafal, Shehem Klal Kol HaBriya Kanal, Shekulam Chozrim Chalila. All of them are constantly moving. They're vibrating. They're circulating. They're recirculating, rolling around. They're transforming from one thing into another, and from another thing into something else. And this is alluded to in the celebration of Chanukah, and why we are celebrating Chanukah, because Chanukah means the rededication of the temple. There's a rebuilding of the temple. Because the temple is a place in which what is above is below and what is below is above. And that's the model of the totality. That's what a dreidel is. Now, how does he goes on? He says, this gives us some insight in what it means, what redemption is about. The essence of the geula should be the essence of redemption is to recognize that everything is this dreidel, is spinning like a dreidel. Nothing is stuck, nothing is permanent. There's no permanent category. There's just this incredible thing in which what is above is present below, and what is present is a model of what is above. Elyonim lamata v'tachtonim lamala. Just as it was, which is the nature, the very nature of the Holy Temple. Al-Ken Kishi Yatsumi Mitzrayim. So the first thing that they sang when they came out of Mitzrayim, which is coming out of that place where the mind is so constricted that it doesn't remember the totality which is Hey Gimel, Hey Nun Gimel Shin, Yuli Galgalim, Yuli Nivdalim Galgalim Shafal. So they sang as soon as they came, when they got out of Mitzrayim, immediately they sang the Shir Adayam, to V'emu v'tita'emu b'har nachlatcha. You bring us in, and you plant us in the mountain of your inheritance, because the mountain of your inheritance is the place of the temple. And Ze Ikar HaGeula, and that is the essence of the redemption, is the building of the temple. Shisham hu b'chinat galgal. The temple is the place where what is highest is brought down to the lowest, and what is lowest is a model of what is highest. Ki b'met kul echad, because the truth is that everything is all one. In the very root, everything is one. V'zeu gamkin b'chinat ha'otya. The same with these letters, which are Hey, Nun, Gimel, Shin. Because you can take those letters and the Roshi Tevot spell out Ga'alta Shevet Nachlatcha Har Tzion. You redeemed the staff of your inheritance on the mountain of Tzion. Bechinat Tiviemo V'tita'emo B'har Nachlatcha. You bring us and you plant us in the mountain of your inheritance. Bechinat Beit HaMikdash, which is the temple, which is the place where everything is its opposite, where what is above is below and what is below is above. And that's the essence of the redemption. So I think I'm going to pause here. I hope that is something, and that I hope if you have a dreidel, spin your dreidel and just watch it and look at it in a new way. See that dreidel in a way that you never saw before. How it's, the amazing Torah that the dreidel itself conveys. The dreidel conveys more about the totality and the nature of reality than any scientific cosmological text can probably teach us. Because it teaches kul echad, that everything is one. And when everything is one, we can become one. When we can become one, we ourselves can become, we can build ourselves as a temple. And may it be so. May we increase the light. May the light come through so powerfully that we get the teaching of the Dreidel, and that we recognize our potential to be a holy temple, that we should be where in the world that is coming, in every moment, as the Dreidel spins, we should be able to take the form of a holy temple, and where with built of the whatever gifts we receive as tzedakah on that particular day. May it be so. I bless all of us that the gifts should be so incredibly useful and beautiful and powerful. We should all feel such gratitude for being able to receive these gifts and know that we have these gifts. Whatever bitterness we had to experience in order to gain the sensitivity and the sensibility that can recognize emes and be connected with emes and become models of the totality. May we continue to feel so grateful that our hearts just explode with light, and this light expands and expands and expands, and we become that Zohar bin in the Teva, that light that shines out as a jewel or as a window. And may your holy lights shine outward so that all those that have the capacity to receive that light will be more illuminated. And may that illumination extend to the maximum, 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 maximum. Ken Yehi Ratzon. And I hope to see you all on Sunday. Thank you very, very much for this, being with me for this Chanukah teaching.